Was Zaki Baruti in studio with me as a young man that I most recently met that we are having a very interesting conversation. He's the author of Race for What? A White Man's Journey and Guide to Healing Racism from Within, and that is Mr. J.D. Mass. And share with the audience a little bit about who J.D. Mass is.
I was raised in University City. My parents wanted to raise me in a diverse area. They wanted me to have an experience of being around Black culture. Moved right next door to who became my best friend's family at 4 years old, and I have experienced different forms of my own privilege, different experiences with racism throughout the process, and grew up mostly with Black friends. And as I experienced racism, I just wanted to understand what in our psychology as low melanated folks, what made us want to create a system as such, what made us respond in the way that we did without knowledge of the people that we were oppressing or angry at or expressing hatred or fear or whatever it was. I just wanted to kind of understand that, and I've been on my journey to try to do so.
Well, in terms of you coming into that kind of consciousness, at what age did you begin to see, something is all jacked up?
So I would say in the third grade, I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King, and I didn't understand what made him famous, right? To me, what he was saying and what we were learning about him just made sense, and so I didn't quite get it. Didn't everybody feel that way? And so that opened my eyes to even paying attention to, no, they don't all feel that way.
What inspired you to write this book, and can you tell me what the premise was behind creating it?
The inspiration came from getting involved in white anti-racism work, having grown up in the Black community in St. Louis, or in a Black community in St. Louis, and spending a lot of time, even as an adult, in various community building ways with other Black communities. I knew and had more of an insight than some of the woke folks that were now going through this aha moment of getting involved in anti-racism work. And there was a disconnect between understanding what we wanted to do something for and who and how to do something with someone. And in that disconnect, I just saw an opportunity to get my voice out there. And the best way to do so to me was put it in a book.
So in writing your book, you got 7 steps, you say.
Yes.
I guess the first, though, you got to recognize racism.
Yes, step 1, don't take a step at all.
Right.
Don't run out there thinking you know how to fix it just because you realize you have privilege, and seek some understanding mainly about what possibly could have created this inside our mind, what psychology and intentions are we dealing with, and then 2, just do you even know who you're helping or wanting to repair the situation for? Do you understand that culture or any of that? So
Step 2.
Step 2 is to acknowledge the harm of our culture, and beyond, including anti-Black racism, and really getting into depth of how much intentional psychological harm, physical harm, mental, economic, all of these different harms, but also just the harm to the planet that white culture is doing, right? It comes from a very disconnected place, and I get into that in step 1. And from that, it's been built to cause harm just subconsciously without even understanding, questioning it or whatnot. Step 3 is to be able to let go of our privilege, our control, and let go of our fear of the change. Right, and that opens us up to something greater. Now we have open space available. Step 4 would be.
Let me just say that you made me just. When people, in terms of change, they be.
I know, exactly. No matter how bad we think we have it, we're still afraid of change.
Absolutely. Okay, then I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And step 4 is now appreciating the value of Black culture specifically, but of all indigenous and Aboriginal cultures, and really starting to learn the value. I mean, we walk, dress, talk, and all of that is influenced on a base level, but even greater the amount of greatness that we see that we don't really, we'll make it American, but we won't acknowledge it as being Black culture. So step 4 is to appreciate that value, because now if you have value, the cost of reparations also brings forth a value. And that's my thing with the cost issue. I break down how you can't repair an injury unless you intentionally focus on repairing that injury. But I also say that, we spend money all the time. This idea that this is going to be a cost to us is not relevant, because we haven't even added the value that it could create as well. So step 5 is reparations. Step 6, as I mentioned, where Kim is being led by a new mind.
So you mentioned Kim Gardner in your book also.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And is being led by a new mind. What does that new mind that brings us a level of peace? And this is what I had to go through, that I had to be sat down, so to speak, and learn a new way of approaching life, a new connected way of doing things. And that new mind leads us to step 7, which is humanity.
Can you give me like a 1-minute takeaway of the book? So if somebody picks up the book and reads it, what do you think their takeaway is going to be, or hopefully their takeaway will be?
So my hope is that we deal with the discomfort and push through, knowing that there's really a beautiful opportunity for healing on the other end, and that, we deal with some of the not so greatness of our culture and recognize that it has nothing to do with the level of melanin in our skin, that we're all capable of being humanitarian, and that there's value in all of us. And if we can start appreciating the value in others in a way that we haven't before, we can lead to a really beautiful humanitarian-based society. And I think humanity is achievable.
Well, I think that's a great message.